Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique, and today we have a second brand new Kontakt instrument library from Heavyocity in the past month, and this one is called Vento Modern Woodwinds. This is essentially the same package as NOVO Modern Strings and FORZO Modern Brass. You've got all of the same elements, the same controls, the same modulation settings, effects, and so on, but this time it's woodwinds. It's got close to 30 gigabytes of sounds, over 11,000 samples, 163 articulations, 110 snapshot presets, 432 tempo synced loops. In terms of traditional instruments, we've got 4 flutes, 4 clarinets, a high ensemble, including flute, piccolo, clarinet, and oboe, a low ensemble, which is 2 bass clarinets and 2 bassoons, and then a contrabass ensemble, which is 2 contrabass clarinets and 2 contrabass bassoons. They all sound absolutely phenomenal. They're all sampled incredibly well as per Heavyocity standards. And then we have a hybrid Woodwind Designer and a Woodwind Loop Designer. Now, because I've already gone through the NOVO Modern Strings and the FORZO Modern Brass and about how to use the library itself, what I'm going to do is just show you how to use it in a real world situation. So I have a kind of pop track here, and I have a number of the loops from the Loop Designer playing, and it really adds an extra element to this track. So what I'm going to do is play you the full track. It's not an actual full track. If I come in here, it's just over a minute long, but I want to play it for you, everything together, and then I want to play you the actual parts from Vento soloed, and then I'm going to talk about how I went about picking those parts and finding those parts and having them fit in the key of the track and so on and so forth. So let's just go ahead and listen to the track.
I'm trying to follow your path, and I lost my way. People told me about that, but I never hear. You don't need me, hey. Never did it, oh yeah. And my feelings, so sad, hey. If you need some space, we're bye, hey. If you need some space, we're bye, hey. Oh yeah. If you need some space, we're bye, hey. If you need some space. If you need some space.
All right, so there you go. That's the track, or at least the beginning of the track. Shout out to the other Heavyocity product that dropped recently, the Ascend Modern Grand Piano, or the Modern Grand Concert D. That's giving this part down here. I just want to point this out. Just adding some extra chords there for that breakdown. But this is the Vento loops here that are inside of the project. I'm just gonna go ahead and solo it and play it again all the way through. It's only about a minute long. All right, so there you go. Those are all loops from the Loop Designer, and they add so much to the track. They add like an orchestral element to it, and I think it just gives it its own kind of unique style and feel. And it was incredibly easy to do because of how awesome all the loops sound just out of the box to begin with. There isn't any automation really inside of here. I did add a filter and then a gain modifier over here at the end just to kind of fade it out. But for the most part, those are all just unaffected loops that come right inside of Vento. So the way I went about doing this is if you look at this MIDI clip, so the way these work, right, is you have macro keys down here, these purple ones. And a macro key will play up to 3 different keys or sections or loops with the press of a button. So if I press this one, you'll see that it's playing 3 different keys. And they call it a loop designer because if I jump into the design tab, which is over here, I can actually change which notes play with the macros. So I have my macros down here, and then whichever notes I choose will be triggered by that. So maybe I want a different low one, a different mid one, and a different high part. We've got a really incredible set of loops that when they go together just sound epic. There's no way around it. Now, I choose, when I was doing this, I came in and went to all the rhythmic bits because I knew I wanted a rhythmic loop for this project. And if you click right here, I went to straight all rhythmic right here, which loads up the rhythmic low section, the rhythmic mid section, and the rhythmic high section. But instead of using the rhythmic high section, I actually came in here and you can then choose from all the different banks right here. And I choose the mid motif triplet format. So very easy to use. And because of the quality of all of these loops, it's very difficult. I'd say near impossible to get something that doesn't sound good. Now, that doesn't mean everything is going to fit with every project, but if you spend enough time and you really get in and know your banks and know what you're looking for, it's easy enough to get some really incredible sound. So what I did is, first of all, when you come in here to the MIDI, you can tune these. And if you look down here, if I zoom in, you can see that I have a MIDI note right here. And this is the tuning bit. So my track, if I remember, I think it's in a G. If I open it up, I've got some stems here. And yeah, it's in the key of G. What I want to do is come in here and put a MIDI note down here. And these are the red ones. Just click it, whatever note you want. So I want the key of G, so I want to tune these all to that key. I just put a MIDI note right here, and then it's done. It will stay in the key of G until I change it or tell it to move to a different key. So boom, now I know all my loops are going to be in tune with my track, and it's much easier to find what you're looking for. So once that's done, you can come in and start using MIDI notes to trigger individual parts. Or you can use the MIDI notes to trigger the actual designer, like the macro keys, the designer keys, if you will. So if I close this out for a second, zoom out, you'll see here that I got just this kind of one loop going here. Let me come up, make sure I'm soloed. And then I've actually kind of designed my own designer key. So this is just 3 different sections I'm triggering there. There are 3 different loops from the 3 different sections that I had laid out for it. And I did that because I wanted to kind of mix with the velocities over here and have a little bit more control over them. The reason why something like this might be a good bet is like maybe you only want this section to go this length of time. You can easily do that here. Or maybe I want that part to happen there and then I want this part to happen over here. I mean, that's, there's just a lot more control over here. But that being said, I did use a designer or macro key over here at the end because it sounded beefy. It just sounded so right. Oh, it just sounds so good. And then I just have another bit here where I just used 2 of those because there was the bass line going from the track. So I wanted to remove the lower part, that low end. I just have the mids here going and just adding the little bit of accompaniment that the track needed for that second part where it gets really crazy. It's kind of like the drop peak of the track. So I just wanted to share that process with you, how I went in and used this kind of traditionally film score instrument that's just so massive and just perfect for film scores and television and video games, and how you can implement it into something like a pop track like I have here, and it really adds that extra element. As I said before, you've got the loop designer, you've got the instrument designer. If I come in here again, let's see the browser, come in here. We've got evolved, so we've got the Woodwind Designer, which is another thing like the loop designer, but you can actually take the actual instruments themselves and stack them up to make a playable instrument rather than loops. And then you have your traditional, all of those different ones that I talked about in the beginning of the video. They're right there if you're looking for those. And the sample quality inside of this and every other Heavyocity instrument is, second to none. So if you like what you heard and you're interested to learn more, click the link in the video description. I highly suggest you do. Don't think you need to be a film scorer to take full advantage of this Vento and any other Heavyocity instrument, because even I fit them in all of my different projects all the time. Anyway, I'm Joshua Casper. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.